All right. Welcome back, Liz. Are you ready for session 3? Is that what it is?
Yeah, I think it's 3. Ready, Rich?
All right.
Richie B.
Yeah, he blows my freaking mind. All right. Cool. So I have a bit of a plan, or not a plan, but I had an idea for this episode, and it has 2 parts. The first part, I thought we could go over the little clip you sent me and just spend as much time as we wanted on that. And we could tell people where that came from and what it's all about. And then the second part was something that we talked about last time, and you brought it up, and this thing that has been ringing in my head that you said, and that is about how to deal with ego. And it's been really present with me, and it's been really relevant, and there's been stuff unfolding in my life that has been, I don't know, just putting me on the verge of a kind of depression. So maybe this could be a way to kind of reciprocate. We do some Oika stuff, and I give you some real principles and get excited about the things that I see in that clip you sent me, and we can talk about Oika principles. And then also I could get a little life coaching from you that we can reciprocate. How's that sound?
Sounds awesome.
Sounds like a
Let's
plan?
do it.
And we should do the fun stuff first, because I'm worried that the second part
Which one is the fun stuff?
The
Which part's
Oika
the fun stuff?
Well, for me, it's going to be like the Oika, seeing the creative life force in your clips, and then the less fun stuff is going to be me having to confront this thing that's got me on the verge of depression.
Okay.
But maybe you can help. That's the idea, right?
Okay. So, sounds good. I think it's all fun. Let's go.
So I guess I'll do a little bit of background about this idea of Earth stories. Earth stories are this thing that is part of Oika. It's this idea that it taps into one of the core concepts of Oika, which is this idea of narrative or story, that human beings have evolved this capacity. One of the things that come along with this highly evolved and refined and complexified way of making sense of the world that comes with our really complex neurological apparatus is this way that we make meaning in the world through storytelling, that we turn everything into story. And there's a lot of really good cognitive science and neurological reasons that we do that. I won't go into it now, but it's really about turning our experiences into something durable so that we can share them. This is really important, actually, that we turn our experiences into durable things so that we can share them with each other. That's what a story is. And so it's a
durable
structure. Yeah,
durable is such an interesting word.
Yeah. So we can recall it. So like when something happens to us in the world, how do we store it in a way that we can then bring it home or back to camp and then relay it to somebody else? Well, we do that through story. But that's ancient. That's the thing that actually goes back to a time before we were humans, before there were humans. It's a way that biological systems store information about the environment such that they can recall it in ways that benefit life itself. It's actually a pre-human thing that this is like a thing. But anyway, we don't need to go into that now, but the point is that story is a really big part of what it means to be humans. And we end up living our lives by stories, and sometimes we're so good at it that we forget we're doing it. And it's a really powerful thing to come back into the awareness that the worlds that we create are storied worlds. And when you come back into that awareness, it empowers you to question those stories and to sometimes even re-author new stories. This is like a transformative, this empowers you to re-author your stories. It's like one of the most powerful things you can do is to be like, wait a minute, I'm not going to just rerun that scripted story again. I'm going to create a new story. Anyway.
Well, can I just say one thing about that? Because you're speaking right there. You're speaking to a lot of complex thing about story, but one thread of it that I hear is that stories are patterns and we can interrupt the pattern.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which actually kind of is reminiscent of the fractals thing. Remember, because fractals are patterns that repeat across scales.
Yeah.
and they actually repeat across substrates or mediums. We don't need to get into that either, but the point is that fractals and stories are related. Anyway, we're talking about stories for a reason, because there's these practices we do in Oika called earth stories, which are stories of things that happen on Earth. And we use Earth stories as a way of getting us to tune in to the stories that are happening all around us. But what's really important about Earth stories, besides the fact that they get you to tune into the stories that you're immersed in, is that, and this is essential, is that an Earth story only becomes an Earth story when it becomes shared. So in order for an Earth story to be an Earth story, it has to be shared. And so I don't know if I actually asked you to do that on the last episode, but it's part of the Oika course that an Earth story is like your homework. Within every week ooh, that's a grackle, a boat tail
A
grackle.
Greco?
A grackle. It's a blackbird. Can you hear it?
I can. It sounds like it's going grackle, grackle, grackle.
Yeah, it really makes sense. Anyway, so that's kind of Oika homework, and you did Oika homework, and so you went out and you did exactly that. You went and recorded an Earth story and shared it with
Not
me.
really, not really knowing that's exactly what I was doing at the time I was doing it. I was just following an urge in the moment to follow some coyote tracks. Yeah.
Exactly. So, I have it queued up here and I can share it. And what I thought we would do is just play it in its entirety. I think it's only like 2 or 3 minutes long, but we would play it in its entirety and watch it. And then we would come back and basically do a play by play on it, because I saw a lot of Oika things happening. And I just thought it'd be useful to like look at it in detail and talk about it.
Okay,
And
that
so
sounds
before I
great.
do that, do you have anything else you want to say about it?
I could set it up. I could set it up a little bit more.
Okay.
So I I have a chronic back injury that flares up once or twice a year. It had flared up where I was like bent over and I couldn't stand up straight for a couple days. But sometimes, just if I can find an easy place to ride my bike, I'm in the right position anyway, and I get circulation going in my back. So I thought I'm going to down to the golf course to ride my bike because it's flat and it's smooth. And so that's why I happened to be down there that day. And then as I was riding, I saw these coyote tracks and felt moved to follow them with a video.
Okay. So can you see that? And
I can't.
let's just let it play. And I'm going to try and refrain from any
Okay.
commentary at this point. So,
Okay. Okay. Oh my God. I'm just like, aren't you so curious about where this little guy is going? I think he had a little sniff there. I just love how wild animals never walk in a straight line. Animals, period. Even my dog never walks in a straight line. He serpentines all over the place. I wonder where this little coyote lives. What a beautiful spot. Oh, there's some ravens. Hi, ravens. So awesome. What a beautiful day. Okay, little coyote, where are you taking us? Oh, crisscrossing a friend. So yeah, like what's it like to be a coyote? Not worried about what someone else is thinking about him, or how much work he got done, or how many likes he got on his social post. Just being a coyote. Obviously hanging out with some other coyote friends. Look at this. Oh, so fun. Crossing through the sand trap. They must love it in the winter when all the peoples are gone. Okay, I don't think we're following him anymore. Hilarious. Now we have the human and the coyote walking side by side, but at different times. What a day. What a day to be out here. Following little coyote tracks, riding the bike, watching the ravens, looking at Rundle. I'm going to do a hard zoom. Look at that mountain. So gorgeous. Gotta say, the coyote moves with a little more grace than me, although my back is completely screwed right now, so I'm hobbling. But oh, this is so much better than sitting at home in a chair thinking my back hurts and I can't move. Just get out there. The fresh air and sunshine. Such a balm. Thanks for the journey, coyote. And this little creature, I don't know who he is. Check this out. This little braided track. Isn't that just the coolest thing ever? Man, that is a work of art. Whoever made that.
All right. I got a whole page of notes here. Okay, so here we go. We're at the beginning of the video, and the idea here is that we're going to just do some commentary as we go, as it becomes relevant. So I'm going to hit play, and we'll see what happens.
Okay. Oh my God.
I'm going to have to stop because you started with "Oh my God," which in and of itself is a pretty profound statement. Oh, this exclamatory statement. My, meaning yours. It's really personal to you. And God, could there be any more of a profound thing to say? Oh my God. And look at where you are. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Look at where you are. Like, I think that pretty much sums it up. So that's it for today. Okay.
So glad you clarified why you're excited about this.
All right. So we'll let it go.
I'm just like, aren't you so curious about...
Okay, so you did it. You just hit principle 0. You said, aren't you so curious? That's where we start, with curiosity. Without that, what's the point? There's nowhere to go. If you're not curious, and this is going to come up later in this conversation if we go into my my personal therapy session. Curiosity is just so important with anything. Like, and you just expressed it. So a big check mark and a big thank you for being curious. You just did it.
And as we're kind of weaving together Tracking Yes and Oika and kind of how they dovetail, Tracking Yes is curiosity. I mean, bottom line, that's it.
Yeah,
that's what you're tracking.
You said it last time, and I think it's totally memeable. To be coachable is to be curious, and to be curious is to be coachable. And those two things, you just said it perfectly. So, all right, I'm going to keep going.
Where this little guy is going, I think he had a little sniff there. I just love how wild animals never walk in a straight line.
Okay, I'm going to back up a little bit here because I just want to show this one little spot here is going to become relevant in a minute. So there's this one little crook in the path, right, where you said the
You think he
coyote.
had a little sniff
You think he had a
here?
little sniff? He stopped and he noticed something, right? And then you went on. It was just brief little stop and sniff, and then you went on. And then there was this little section where you're just walking and breathing, and we're listening to your steps in the snow. By the way, that sound of snow. There's a
Amazing, huh?
right. I can feel it. Like I've walked, and lots of people have walked in that cold, dry snow that has that very. I mean, that's not just the sound of snow underfoot. That's a very specific kind of snow. You can almost tell how cold it is, how dry it is, how clean that snow is because of the way it's not just a crunch, it's a squeaky kind of crunch. Think about just like the specificity of that. And I can feel the coldness in my lungs. I'm going to let it play.
I think he had a little sniff there. I just love how wild animals never walk in a straight line. Animals, period. Even my dog never walks in a straight line.
So the other thing I'm noticing here is like that you're breathing, right? So there's a rhythm, and then there's rhythm to your walking. There's a rhythm there, right? And it's all becoming part of like your perceptual experience there. The breathing and the stepping and the squeaky snow, it's all part of it, right? That's not just something to be ignored. That's part of this experience.
Ooh, I just want to say, yeah, I'm feeling like a convergence of patterns because there's the visual rhythm of the
Mm-hmm.
footsteps,
Mm-hmm.
and then the rhythm of the breathing, and then the audio rhythm of the embodied rhythm of the breathing, and then the audio rhythm of the sound of the snow. And if you even get more into it, the depression underfoot of the snow, having that whole relationship between my foot and the snow being compacted. So there's a lot of patterns overlapping here.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. These serpentines all over the place. I wonder where this little coyote lives. What a beautiful spot. Oh, there's some ravens. Hi, ravens. So awesome.
Yeah, so awesome. Okay, first of all, it's absolutely beautiful. Now you stopped there for a minute, right? And you took in the ravens. I know you love ravens. I heard you talked about that in one of your podcasts. But they stopped you, right? And you looked at them. And I just want to go back, to this moment, like, and like you're wondering what this guy was doing. Do you see the fractal here? Do you see the fractal there?
Mm,
That
mm,
moment and your moment. There's a
mm.
fractal there. There's the coyote. You said, I wonder what he was doing, Well, he was doing exactly what you were doing. Like what goes on in a coyote goes on in Liz.
Right.
That's a fractal.
Something,
Every
something.
fractal is a bridge between the world, what goes on in see how it's substrate independent. In this case, the substrate is the organism, you, and the coyote. The same thing happens in the coyote. He stops, sniffs, and it happened in you. You know what it's. And in this thing, you say, "What's it like to be a coyote?" You know what it's like to be a coyote. Coyotes and you do the same thing. There's an intimacy that, do you see, like it's there, it's recorded, this story is recorded. This is what fractals can show you. Like there's a fractal there of what coyotes do and what Liz does.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, but
No, no, it's cool because it's like because when the ravens flew by and I said, "Oh, the ravens," and I'm going somewhere, but now I'm here noticing this because it's asking me something is resonating in me to look at it.
right.
So, and I can see what you're saying. The coyote's going somewhere, but suddenly something said, "Hey, pause here, check this out."
Notice the world, and you notice the world, and the coyote noticed the world. All
Yeah.
of these cues, these simple things that we would like normally overlook, if you can just let yourself feel them trying to show you, these are all cues. They're pointing, these are fractals pointing to the continuity between you and the coyote. It's a rich, there's a richness to this thing that we just tend to, I don't know, like walk walk. I don't think you're walking past it. I'm just saying, let ourselves feel it. And the breathing and the rhythm of the walking and the coolness of the air and the contrast of the sky to the snow. And it was the ravens that did it. Like the ravens are like, hey, notice something. This is what they can be telling us to notice. The world's constantly asking us to notice how we are continuous with it. That's what this is, I think. So I'm going to go back here. Just I want to hear what you just said there.
What? I said nothing.
No, no, I meant in the video. So we were let it play.
Oh. Oh, crisscrossing a friend. So yeah, like what's it like to be a coyote?
See, so what's it like to be a coyote? Like you're asking the question, and the world's trying to tell you. The world's telling you what's it like to be a coyote.
But that is actually what I'm doing. Is I'm trying to feel into what's it like to be a coyote. Exactly. That's why I'm following the track.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. See, this is huge. Now, there's another thing that happened here. I just want to point out. It's actually, I mean, this is a really huge kind of experience, but I want to point it out anyway. There's a moment here where you look and you happen to catch the moon in the shot. So I'm going to let it.
I know. When I watched it this morning, I'm like, I didn't say the moon. I didn't notice the moon. I missed one thing.
No, you didn't miss, but I want to show you something here. So there it is right there. It's up there. You can just see it. It's a tiny little thing. I'm going to zoom in it on my screen so it'll zoom in on the video. So I'm zoomed in on it right now, and you can tell it's kind of like it's a little bit more than half, and you can actually see that if you were like a what do they call the people that do the lighting in plays, like a what do they call those people that do
the lighting person?
The lighting person. A lighting person who's doing it right now would be able to tell you exactly right now where the light is placed in order for it to look like that on the moon. So in order for the light to fall on the moon like it's showing right now, that person would be like, oh, the person would be like, they'd look over their left shoulder and they'd point right over there. They'd point to where the light is, right? Well, if you were to do that in this situation, so I'm just going to slide the video forward a little bit. What you'd do, actually, I'll just let it play. That's where you'd be pointing. You'd be pointing from the moon to that light. That is the light that is casting the light that is falling on the moon in that precise way to make it look exactly like it looks. That light is the sun. It's actually a star that we call the sun. You're standing on the Earth, okay? You're standing on a planet that's orbiting that star that is shedding light on that moon. Sorry, I'll cut that out. But you see, there's a trinity there. The Earth that you're standing on, the sun that's shining on the Earth and on that moon. There's a moment there where if you were to stop, so the next time you do this, the next time that you're out there during the day and you can see the moon and you can see the sun in the same sky, okay? Stop and look at the moon and see if you can't triangulate like the lighting person would do. Where is the light that where would it, and what you'll do is you'll look right to where the sun is. That's where you'll look. And you'll be like, oh, there's the sun, there's the moon, and I'm on the Earth. If you do this right, and here's how you know you've done it right. You will fall to your knees. You'll fall to your stomach. You'll grip the earth, because suddenly you'll realize that you are on the surface of a planet and there's nothing between you and that star and that orbiting planet over there. You'll see that you are suddenly in this three-dimensional trinity of orbiting celestial spheres. You won't see it as that. You won't see it as the sun, that bright thing in the sky, and that moon, which is this little painted fingernail clipping or whatever. You won't see it as these little things. You'll suddenly see them as the planets and stars that they are, and you'll see them in the three-dimensional system that you're in, and suddenly you'll feel like the reality of the situation that you are in, and you'll feel like you're standing on the surface of the earth. Sometimes, like I say to people, I say, I'm going to show you the moon for the first time, and you're like, yeah, I see the moon every day, or I see it every night. No, you have to actually see it. And when you actually see it for the first time, and this is how I know I've done it right, my instinct is to like fall to the earth and hold on to something.
Hold on. But
Hold on.
I'm also really feeling gravity
Yes, and you'll feel
as you
that.
say this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you'll
Yeah.
feel the attraction, and then like it's if you do it right, it's I don't know. Try it and then practice it, and one of these days you'll know you got it right, and you'll come back and you'll be like, oh my God, Rich, I see what you mean. And until that happens, you kind of won't get it. You'll be like, yeah, that was cool, or like, I don't really get it. But when you actually get it, you'll be like, oh my God, I get it. So I'm just putting it out there. Like,
Yeah. Yeah,
it's,
I mean, I wanna have the lived experience, but I'm already starting to feel the getting of this tiny little human on
yep,
an Earth that's
yep,
spinning around, and the
yep,
moon is there, and the sun
yep,
is there, and all the other stars are there, and the other planets are there, and the other galaxies are
yep,
there, and it's like, "What?
yeah. And
Hang on."
all I'm doing right now is kind of giving people a permission to actually feel that for a minute,
Yeah.
because it opens up a whole new way of experiencing and relating to the world that we're on. Suddenly you feel the precariousness and the preciousness of this place. Like, this is one special planet. When
Yeah.
you suddenly realize, I mean, look at those trees. That's not happening on any other planet in our solar system. It's not happening on any other planet we've discovered thus far. And even if it is, it's so impossibly rare that it gives you a whole new sense of appreciation for this one. We cannot mess this up.
Mhm.
It's that precious. Anyway, my point is just that this little experience of walking with a coyote through the snow, has so much going on. Like, and we're not even halfway through it. So we
Can
should
I
probably keep going.
before you go on, because
Yeah.
you said we can't mess this up, and I feel something coming that I want to say there. Is it that is it this beautiful precious earth in its uniqueness? Is it that we can't mess it up, or is it that we can't we can't mess up this gift that we have been given? I don't mean the earth. I mean we're going to annihilate ourselves. Right? And here we're getting this opportunity to live in this remarkable place. Let's not mess that up.
We
Do you know what
can. Yeah.
like
What?
well, maybe this is a good time for you to say what is your sense, and maybe nobody knows, but what is your sense about the resilience of the earth, and it's likely us that will be gone and the earth will recover. What's your sense of that?
I've come to terms with that reality, that but I do think it would be a shame. Like, I think if the Earth will be fine. Look, I've watched this
That's what
planet
I mean.
through
Yeah. Yeah.
geologic time go through. In fact, we're going to see in a minute, when you look up at the mountains, we're going to see a different world, a 500 million year old planet. But the point is this: that this Earth has gone through iterations of life over, several times, at least 6 great extinctions. We could just be one of those, and that's, I've come to terms with that fact, and this Earth will rebound with another iteration. Give it another try. But I'm happen to be a human. I happen to have a certain affection for humans. I'm invested in humans. I want to see us. I want to see us prosper. I want to see us appreciate this opportunity that the Earth has given us. This is what Earthling theory is trying to tell us, and so I want to see us appreciate our opportunity. That's all. I want to see
Yeah.
us see the reality of our situation, so that we have a appropriate take the appropriate steps to live into the opportunity. That's all. But there's no guarantee. There's no guarantee. In fact, the only thing that is guaranteed is that it's going to change. I get it. Like, I'm not utopianistic, and I'm not naive about the inhospitable world that we
Yeah.
live in.
Go another way. Go
Yeah,
another way.
I'll go a different direction. um, so so I get it. I just think, look, if we're gonna screw it up, we should at least know we're doing it. And man, it's beautiful though. If we should see that too before we do.
Yeah, I feel called to bring in something that someone I interviewed on the podcast some time ago, Philip Shepard. He wrote a book called Radical Wholeness. Something he said that really was amazing, because I think I asked him something like, "Do you feel a sense of hope about humankind and whatever," something like that. Anyway, his answer was, "It is a fantasy to think that we will live forever, that humans will be here forever. It is a complete fantasy, and it gets in the way of us knowing the preciousness of being here now."
I would totally agree with that.
Yeah. And
But
it feels like that's what you're pointing to too. And while we're here, let's really like go for it in terms of curiosity and wonder and wow and what a thing. And yeah.
but I also think that I'm saying that we could also evolve into a completely different form if we do it right. You know,
Right.
our current if you look at the way life has evolved over time, like I just did a Earth story the other day about a jellyfish that washed up on the beach, and I'm like, this is our ancestors. This used to be the dominant life form on Earth, and now it's us. But this is our ancestor. This is what we used to be, and so what will we become? you know what will the human become? It will no longer be us, four-legged, four appendaged, bilateral symmetry, you know purely biological things. But I just don't think that we should be
This
slapping
is
the earth in the face in the process.
exactly. So it's two-pronger, right? Because one, first of all, I love what you're saying. I never ever thought of this before. Like, the humans are going to make it or they're going to go extinct. But what about the humans become the next iteration of what, if you go ways back, was human, but it is now this that still has human in it, right? So I love this. It's like, it's not like here
Yeah,
or gone.
yeah.
It's evolving into what? And of course, the best chance of us evolving into um, something wonderful is we have to rearrange our relationship
Mm-hmm.
with everything that we're in relationship with, because
Mm-hmm.
we've come out of relationship with it.
Yeah,
That's what I hear with Oika. You're so passionate about, guys, come on, like
I'm just saying
trees,
we can do better.
birds. Yeah.
We can be in the right
Yeah. Yeah.
relationship.
Yeah.
And by the way, before anybody accuses me of just being too linear about this, I'm all for contemplating and considering that things are cyclical, and that, UFOs and UAPs and all that stuff are just us from the future coming back to take care of us, or to, I'm all about considering ideas of disclosure, and I'm all about radical ideas about continuity and happening and folding over onto itself and all of those things. So don't think that I'm closed to even more imaginative ideas about how evolution can happen. I'm not strictly saying that it's linear in its, because once you really do consider the nuance and the details of linear evolution, you realize that the whole story kind of picks itself apart and can become and becomes incredibly more um, creative, and then you can really get imaginative. But that doesn't mean I want to bypass what we know about evolution and biology and how geology has played out, because we do have a fossil record to deal with, and I think a lot of people don't have time to do that. Anyway, it's a different
Well,
story.
and I want to say, I just also want to say that the coming back into this relationship with the natural world and the cosmos, coming back into relationship through an understanding that I am it and it is me, because we've kind of really separated out from that, isn't yes, if we could do that, we're going to stop doing much of the damage we're doing. But even more, it's because holy shit,
Mm-hmm.
like when you're there, it's like so much more wondrous and complex of an experience than thinking you're separate and nature's out there
Yeah,
and I
yeah,
go out into it.
yes.
Yeah,
Creative and frankly joyful. Like
yeah.
there's, again, not to dismiss the suffering and the competition and the betrayals and the, the pain of life, but it's also a great source of joy and beauty and camaraderie and kinship and prosperity.
And for the other things that you just named, it's a source of support for those difficult experiences.
Yes, a great way
Yeah.
to have resilience in the face of these challenges, which is, that's the creative life force. That's yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we need to see where we are here. So we're back on the trail of the coyote.
So yeah, like what's it like to be a coyote? Not worried about what someone else is thinking about him, or how much work he got done, or how many likes he got on his social post. Just being a coyote. Obviously hanging out with some other coyote friends. Look at this.
So I just want to stop there because this whole little part of this story where you're saying, what's it like to be a coyote, not worrying about social media, not worrying about, but then you come into this area where this coyote is clearly interacting with other coyotes, right? And so the the point here is that actually to be a coyote is to be immersed in the scents and the sounds and the social interactions of other coyotes. What we're doing with social media is an extension of what coyotes do. It's just another one of these things. It's like coyotes aren't immune to being immersed in social media. It's just that their social media is 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 olfactory, and it's about, they have a different social landscape that they're operating in, but they're doing the same thing that we are. And so to think that that a coyote isn't immersed in concerns about social interactions is to separate ourselves from coyotes. Do you see what I mean? Actually, we and coyotes share that do you see what I mean? Like actually we share more, we have more in common than we commonly think. That's my point there. It's just that actually coyotes are immersed in concerns about social media. It's just that their media is, about social, it's even about social dominance, social hierarchies and things like that.
Yeah, I guess I want to layer in a facet of it that I imagine is uniquely human, and I could be wrong because I'm not a coyote, so I don't know. But when I'm saying not concerned about how many likes on my social post or how much work I'm getting done, I got to be productive, productive, productive. I'm speaking to
Yeah,
the
exactly.
ego nature of being
Yes.
human.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, okay, great. So what you've done is highlight that. You've said, well, so this is what, this is the thing. This is the actual insight that can come out of this, is that can we do this in a way that removes that angst that comes from that? This is what the coyote can teach us, to do it and to own it, to belong to this, to not do it in a way that brings us anxiety and angst, but to do it like the coyote does. This is what animals teach us. When I just did another video where I went down and I was spending time with these birds, and the birds were just being birds. And in the process, they're teaching me just to be, just because that's what birds do. Every animal, insect, whatever, everything that plant, every time you observe one, it's teaching you how to just be. And that's what the coyote's teaching here. It's to just be. Because coyotes just be, and so can we. Don't add that extra layer of angst and egoic sort of whatever that humans do. We don't have to do that. And an interaction with a coyote's tracks can remind us and teach us as a practice not to do that. So that's the point.
Yeah, beautiful. And I want to build on what you were saying earlier about how they are immersed in social media, um, because they're in, we in all our how many likes, how much work am I doing, how much that we're immersed, but we don't feel like we belong. We're trying to
Exactly.
belong.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And see, that's the difference between right relationship and not right relationship. I would just kind of argue that the coyote's in right relationship with that, and we tend not to be. And one
Yes.
creates anxiety and a sense of displacement and a sense, whereas the other doesn't. One confirms the sense of belonging, and one creates a sense of separation.
Yeah.
It's about right
Yeah.
relationship, and that's what it gets. That's the second sort of principle, is right relationship. So there's continuity in right relationship. Um, okay, there's another one of those coming right up here.
Look at this. Oh, so fun. Crossing through the sand trap. They must love it in the winter when all the pupils are gone.
So you just said something really interesting, and I think it just brings up another conversation that I think is worth having. So there's this idea that the coyotes must love it when the humans are gone. I like to imagine that there's a way in which humans could belong to the community of Earth organisms where that's not the case, where in fact the coyotes miss us. Like, I think what you're describing there is a situation where we're not in right relationship with coyotes. That's not to say that we should be living with coyotes and all that, but but what I'm saying is that coyotes probably miss us. Do you see what I mean? They're not glad that we're not there. They're sad that we're not there. They're sad that we're not there in the right relationship. And so, in fact,
Mm.
and so this is what I would, this is because we're not in right relation, they're glad we're not there. But if we were in right relation, in fact, the coyotes
Beautiful.
would be glad that we were there. But in fact, they're
Yeah.
sad that we're not there. That's
Yeah.
what I would like to consider.
I love that because, of course, when I said that, I'm thinking of like all the golf carts and the golfers and the balls coming down the fairway and all the animals kind of getting pushed because the humans are coming down the fairway now. And so that's what I meant when I said it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what a beautiful thing that you're drawing out of
Well,
that.
I just want to,
Yeah.
well, I think what you're saying there is an opportunity to consider that other reality, because you're right. Your depiction of it is right, but can it give us an opportunity to consider a different picture? Maybe
Hmm.
that
Hmm.
question is, well, what would be, because I think there was a time when someone was talking about, there's an Aboriginal concept of wilderness being land that's lonely. In other words, wilderness is land where humans are absent. That's a right relationship, that if humans were in right relationship, then we belong to the land. And that, think about the healing potential of that to humanity, to
Yeah.
actually feel like we belong, and for a healthy wilderness to include the humans. How did it ever become that humans and wilderness don't belong together? Like, why aren't we
Yeah.
part of that again? Like,
Yeah.
we have forfeited that for no good reason. Sorry, I'm starting to.
Well, I'm just feeling the manicuring, right? The manicuring of what we do with nature is we manicure it. I'm generalizing hugely, but we take the wild out of it. So that's how we don't belong anymore because we created where nature must be trimmed and hedged and bounded and all of that.
Yeah, but
So
I don't want to create a situation where I'm saying like that we need to live in the wilderness. That's not what I'm saying, because I don't think we should sacrifice like the comforts of living in the ways that we live. But I do think that what we should do is take all of the success of being able to like live comfortably, and we've gotten to a point now where we can turn that comfort into back into right relationship with the world. Like, okay, we've established a successful, comfortable way of living on this planet. Now it's time to fall back in love with it. We know we're no longer competing to get out of it. Let's use our success to now take care of it, to appreciate it, to be back in love with it. Do you see what I mean? So I'm not saying that we should forfeit the comforts of civilization. I don't want to be cast as saying that, because that won't work either. I'm saying I'm not saying we should turn the world into a golf course. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying let's take the comforts of life. I mean, look, we're both sitting in comfortable environments, but it's giving us the opportunity to go out and appreciate and cherish what's the nature that is around us still. And so and it gives us the privilege to preserve what's left holistically.
Yeah.
It's a tricky argument to make, but all right. So here, let's see here. Let's keep going here.
Okay, I don't think we're following him anymore. Hilarious. Now we have the human and the coyote walking side by side, but at different times.
So I just love this part because it all kind of comes together. There's the patterns, there's the rhythms, the walking, the breathing. It's you realizing like there's these parallel lines, like it's the human, like there it is. There's the record of these two organisms coming together. And as you walk back, you're going to come across your little jog in the track where you did what the coyote had done earlier, right? Like there it was. Right. Like when you came across it at the beginning and you saw this little jog where the coyote had done this thing where it noticed something and took a sniff. And now here it is, like what had unfolded in real time before, now it's recorded and like, oh, like it's showing you this whole process.
Right. It's my tracks are mirroring what I was following in the coyote's tracks.
The whole thing is like there, like, oh, in case you didn't get this, here's the story of it recorded for you to like follow. And then there's one other part here that I would just want to point out when we get to it, but I'll just let it play.
What a day. What a day to be out here. Following little coyote tracks, riding the bike, watching the ravens, looking at Rundle. I'm going to do a hard zoom. Look at that mountain.
Okay, so that little act there, okay, when I saw this, I just so much flooded in because it seems like this like innocuous little thing that you did. You just like, oh, looking up at Rundle, zoom in on it, look at it. It's what you're doing there is you're placing yourself in amongst the landscape. I mean, think about it. As you walk and you say it in your head, the name of the place, like you're doing that ancient act of putting oneself in the place. It seems like a little thing, like, oh, I'm just going to look at it and zoom in on it, but it puts you there. And by the way, like what we now know about that, when I saw that, like all my geology came flooding back. I could see that like those are depositional layers. That's probably like limestone. Those are probably ancient reefs up at the top, underlain by like a layer of shale. Those are clearly like dolomites just by the color. Like what you've got there is probably a 400 million year old calcium carbonate depositional bed back from when the terrains were colliding with the West Coast, and it created all these, depositional folds, and now they've been eroded and glaciated at some point. Like you've got this incredible, that was a different world. That was a tropical shallow sea environment, and then it became a deep sea environment. Like those are different worlds. In fact, that was the Devonian, and so that was like when fish were evolving, and then it probably went into the Cretaceous and probably into like up into like the Carboniferous or something like that, where the dinosaurs were just getting going at the time that finally stopped getting deposited. So you've got a completely different world represented right there. I just think that's like an incredibly powerful way to belong to a place, to like, and you did it. Like it just seems like this little thing to like look up, do a hard zoom on it, and but by doing that every day, you've put yourself in place. You've put yourself in a geologic story, in a geologic landscape, an origin story. And if you don't do that, you're lost. But that puts you into a much bigger story.
Yeah, that's making me think of my interview with Pete, um, where that snowboarder was outside his car going, "Oh yeah, I'm just outside my place." And we were
Yes.
talking about how
Yeah.
the fall has you feel displaced, like knocked out of your place.
Yeah.
But you're speaking to like when you feel your place at this level, you can't
Uh,
really get knocked out of it.
it's like the thing with the moon and the sun. You know, it's like, wow. Like I'm in a, not only am I like on a planet, I'm in a solar system here. I'm in a galaxy. Like I'm in the cosmos. And then you look up at that and you're like, I'm on a planet where a lot of things have happened. Do you know how many brachiopods are up in that, on that, in that image right there? You know, there are trillions of brachiopods in that image that have come and gone. Like there's probably 100, 200 million years of geologic history recorded in that image. And there you are, you know, like walking among it.
Yeah.
If you're just out there hitting golf balls and you don't know that, it's easy to just not give a shit about any of it. You know, it's easy to just sort of go through your life and not care that the top layer of that thing is before the oil that's you're putting in your truck to, you know, to get to the golf course even was deposited. You know what I mean? The oil that you converted into gasoline to put in your car to get to the golf course was just starting to get laid down right at the top layer of that mountain. Okay. If, if and then so it's just like if you don't know that, it's really hard to appreciate the impact of that tank of gas on the world. I'm not saying we shouldn't be putting gas in our cars. I'm saying we should appreciate what it means because it'll make it, it'll put it into the context of what we're actually doing. But I'm not saying we shouldn't be. I'm in my truck right now, with a full tank of gas. But my point is, I know what I'm doing. Like I can appreciate what I'm doing, and I'm doing everything I can to mitigate that reality. So that's all I'm saying is that by by stopping and noticing and saying its name too. You said there's Mount Rundle. Like you said its name. That this is the third principle. We've been through continuity, we've been through right relationship, and by saying its name, by saying Mount Rundle, you're enacting it in your consciousness. The mountain and your consciousness, your mental landscape and that mountain have fused. That mountain now lives in you, in your consciousness, in your identity. That's the entanglement principle enacted in you. When you put those three things together, first of all, the curiosity, that's principle zero, and then the continuity, and then the right relationship, and then the entanglement, those things all together, that's Oika. That's the create, then you're in touch with the creative life force. Sorry, I'm going on and on again. But
No, don't. That's the whole point, though. This is why we're doing this. So, yeah, I love how you're weaving this all together.
so I will just let it play then.
So gorgeous. Gotta say, the coyote moves with a little more grace than me, although my back is completely screwed right now, so I'm hobbling. But oh, this is so much better than sitting at home in a chair thinking my back hurts and I can't move. Just get out there. The fresh air and sunshine. Such a balm. Thanks for the journey, coyote. And this little creature, I don't know who he is. Check this out. This little braided track.
So I just love how you ended there with that little comment that you said, thanks, coyote, which is gratitude. That's another Oika concept. Like you just express this gratitude That's huge, to just say it, feel it, let yourself feel it. And then you end where you started, which is back in the curiosity. Now you're looking at this track, which I don't know what it is, but I'd love to do the research and follow it and find out. Like, it'd be great to follow it and see what it does and see if we can't figure out what it is and see what else. Can you imagine if we were to go follow that? What would it teach us? What are all the things that would come from the curiosity of following that track? Like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so I just love how you sort of ended where you started, which is back in the curiosity of it all.
And this little creature, I don't know who he is. Check this out.
Oh.
This little braided track. Isn't that just the coolest thing ever? Man, that is a work of art. Whoever made that.
Beautiful. Well done.
And I saw the jog. We didn't pause there, but I saw the jog when I said, "Oh, the ravens!" The little jog in my track.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. It's also really interesting, the human following the animal tracks, and I wonder about the animals following bike tracks, or what
Yeah.
I made this track.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was
Yeah.
really cool. So that's just like, I don't know how long that video was, but
4 minutes. Yeah.
it's just this one little thing that happened, but there's a lot, there's a lot that can happen in that little 4 minute thing. And the fact that you shared it, is what really makes it an Earth story. And now we've shared it, and now it's in the world. And so all that happened, all that creative life force that was shared is now in the internet too.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, and I'm also really appreciating that it truly was a balm for my back, because I was so crippled, right? Like, I couldn't. But
Mm.
in that, wasn't thinking about that at all. Wasn't even like on. It is interesting how there are degrees to which pain can really fall into the background if we're fully curious and present and focused on what's right in front of us.
When you said bomb, you meant BALM?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant BOM and BOMB. So
No.
so yeah, well that's another one. We probably could have gone into that too, just the power of that, the power of nature to heal us, to work on our bodies and our minds, the right relationship and the entanglement. Remember when I was talking about the entanglement part, about how the consciousness, like the fact that you said Rundle, the words, you use the words, puts the geology, the geologic history, the creative life force of the mountain in your mind. Well, and when it's in your mind, it's in your body. Well, if it's in your mind and in your body, it's going to have an effect on your back. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's what I call it, entanglement, but it comes from this idea of an activism. An activism meaning that consciousness is a product of world and organism. And because of continuity, organism and world are on a continuum. What this means is that whatever enters into our mind enters into our body. And this should make sense to like embodiment people, that the things that we think, the emotions that we hold, the beliefs that we hold, the affections that we hold, the fears that we hold, of course they're going to have an effect on our physical body, because the physical and the mental are on the same continuum. The continuity doesn't stop somewhere between the mind and the body, just like it doesn't stop somewhere between the Big Bang and the Earth and us. Like, there's a continuity that runs all the way through all of it, the whole cosmos. Like, this is what I teach when I teach the story of the cosmos. I teach the continuity of the cosmos. It doesn't stop anywhere between these things. There's a deep continuity. And so it would make sense then that your back would reflect the health of your mind, and your health of your mind is going to reflect the creative life force, the Oika that you found in your relationship, your right relationship with the coyote and with the mountain. and with the ravens and with the snow
and the sun and the
and the fresh
wind
air,
and the yeah.
all of it. So when you
Yeah.
open yourself up to that, when you open yourself to be in right relationship with it, you inherit the regenerative healing power of it. I'm a scientist, and so I carry around the trauma of being trained as a scientist, like, and I'm still dealing with that. That's why I get very dismissive of what I call pseudoscience or woo woo, and I know that's a problem. But the point is that, like, there's why is that a problem? Like my ex science, the people that I've lost as friends because of this, because of my science trauma, the people that I went to school with and who are trained in the sciences and who now, like, ridicule me I've because I've got past the reductive scientific method. Why is it what I'm saying a problem? There's nothing unscientific about it. We're starting to get into the therapy session now.
Pivoting.
I just cleverly pivoted into my session. Sorry, I won't do that.